Well, the ABC has once again splurged using taxpayer funding, this time splashing out on advertising, promotions and research. A whopping $856,000 was spent on resources to appeal to their target audience every single month since July. All of this spending, and yet 250 staff were fired due to budget cuts. I caught up with Institute of Public Affairs Director of Communications, Mulholland, a short time ago. Now, the ABC is spending nearly $1 million a day on promoting itself, researching its viewers, all sorts of nonsense like this. At the same time as they're crying poor, you've got advertise out there now saying the ABC deserves more money. At the same time as they're cutting staff, why does the ABC need to be taking out ads in other forms of media in order to promote itself?
It's completely inappropriate of the ABC to advertise itself. Our FOI requests found that in the last 5 months they're spending $4.28 million on advertising, promotion and, as you said, audience research. And this continues on, record amounts spent on advertising. In the last 5 months, they've spent as much as they used to spend in an entire year on this stuff. And it's also completely unfair. Imagine being one of those 250 staff they had to let go due to budget cuts by the government, which they conveniently blamed on, and then seeing the ABC spending millions and millions of dollars on advertising and audience research. But what the advertising actually does is it diminishes the market share of its commercial media rivals. Its commercial media rivals like News Corp and like Nine actually have to compete in the market to pay their journalists. The ABC gets a guaranteed $1.1 billion a year to fund itself. It doesn't need to advertise. It doesn't need to promote itself. It doesn't need to spend money on Google AdWords, but it continually does.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, of course, in the commercial media, we have to make a buck in order to pay our staff. Otherwise, you wouldn't have Sky News, you wouldn't have the newspapers, you wouldn't have any of it. And this has been going on for years now, where the ABC has been taking out ads, particularly on Google. I think it's roughly 5 years ago now that we sort of first started picking up on this, that the ABC was taking out ads on Google so that their results for news stories and the like would appear at the top of the search results. Why does the ABC do that? That they have no imperative to have more people reading or viewing their stuff in order for them to make money. They're actively trying to trample over the top of commercial media. It is a complete waste of taxpayers' money to be doing that.
I think we have to view this as a government intervention into our media market. That's what the ABC is, and it's a further intervention into and stealing away the revenue and profits of other media companies. That's revenue isn't guaranteed. Fairfax and Nine pointed out in the competitive neutrality review a few years ago that ABC using Google AdWords to make sure its site is up top it can only be explained by stealing their audience. They are stealing their audiences of other commercial media with taxpayer dollars. And then they'll come out and say, oh, look, we were the #1 news sites if you combine all of our news websites. Well, that's only because it has millions of dollars to play with. It spends up to $1 million, almost $1 million a month advertising itself. It's completely inappropriate, and it's stealing audience off other media.
And of course, they're able to put their content out for free, once again, because they have no commercial imperative, whereas many of us in the commercial media, we have to have paywalls on stories and this kind of thing in order to make money, largely because advertising revenue has declined. Online advertising is not worth the same as an ad on page 1 or 3 of the paper used to be worth. So while the ABC is going out spending its money on cheap ads on Google, it is the very fact that ads are now cheaper that it is causing the commercial media in many respects to go into decline. And they spend this money promoting stuff online that really is of little relevance to most people. They should be spending that money on, I don't know, some more regional journalists, some more rural journalists, getting the ABC out there doing the work that the commercial media can't do, because there are places where commercial media isn't viable. But the ABC seems increasingly to be chasing that more mainstream voice, or you know, the sort of inner city voice, I guess, instead of going to the places that the ABC has always been most successful and most needed.
Exactly. Why does the ABC need to spend millions of dollars to have giant billboards in Melbourne City, Sydney and Brisbane? You won't see a billboard like that in Caboolture or any other regional area. But they continually do it. They continue to try to meddle into the commercial space. I think we need to have an honest discussion about taking that one step further and having a debate about the ABC either becoming a subscription service or being privatised. That way, they can go out and advertise as much as they want with their own money, not taxpayer money.
Well, I mean, the SBS, of course, now runs ads and has for many years. And, of course, at the time it was, oh, the whole thing's going to fall apart, it won't be the same. But has anyone noticed the difference? SBS hasn't crumbled since they put a few ads into their programs.
I think it would be a very sensible option of the government to look at setting, either merging the ABC or SBS and having an SBS model on the ABC where they can advertise themselves. They can get advertisers to air commercials on the ABC. That means they'll be getting more of their own revenue and less reliant on taxpayer revenue. I think that sort of proposal would be very well received.